Hello guys, my name is Frank Rell and welcome to another exciting build log. I think we're on number 8 here. This one's about the lighting. I'm in the first level again. As you can see, I got a skybox, I got ambient lighting, that all stuff. And now if you remember in the last video I talked about having the skybox black, and I think I've covered this on a lot of the other videos. It didn't come out right. You know, I messed with settings quite a while over the past week and a half. And nothing I did really worked. So this actually is the skybox from Hard Rain, and I used the ambient lighting from there as well as listed on the source's website. I tweaked the lighting a little bit to try to get a little bit darker than in that map, but yeah, this just looks so much better than what I was trying to do. It just having just pure dark lighting and then having other lights, like it doesn't work for the source engine, and I don't think it'd be very fun for players. Like it was just too dark. And when I try to have like, because obviously, if you just have these street lights here and everything else was dark, the players would walk into it, or you'd see other people walk into it, and then they would leave it. It would just go black. It just, you know, there's no way it would look real. So I changed that. I went with this type of lighting. So we're gonna do that also in the third level, even though I said I wanted it black, but I'll make it work when I get to it. But I think this looks pretty good so far. So I'm gonna go over all the light settings I used and how I came to this. So starting off, same. We're going to be starting in here. They're out here, but I think they're going to be in this room. I'm going to clean this up because this doesn't look that good. But there's going to be another, probably another week on each level. I'm going to do just adding more detail to the map. If you remember in the other videos, this wasn't here. These power lines were right into the building. That didn't make sense. So I'm just going to, I want to let you guys know that there will be another pass of detail to just put more, as much as I possibly can, and also to add sounds. There's still no sounds in the map, aside from like, the textures have sounds built into them. But other than that, there's no like ambient noise or ambient audio or anything like that. So that's all coming right before the zombies. I'll make sure I do that, and then we'll get to the fun stuff. But back on the actual topic here, the lighting. Let's see here. Yeah, this is. Let's move forward. I've seen this enough. So, in conjunction with the skybox and the fog and everything like that, I added a fog, and I also added this dark fog on the outside of the map. It's just a dust particle. I'm actually getting some frame rate issues here. I'm still working on that because I think I have it a little extreme in some cases. But I needed a way to kind of blend the skybox with fog with another type of fog, because the fog itself, the way it works is it's like a spherical radius around the player. So when you go up to something like right here, obviously you'd have to set the fog very low because the map ends like right there, and then you wouldn't get a good distance on the other way. So like you can see how far the fog is on the other side. You can get like 2-3 houses in view before everything starts to fade away. But right here, I didn't have that many buildings created, so I needed something else. So I added this black fog here, which I think it looks pretty good. I got to work on making sure the frame rate is good on it, because it is a little much there. In other places, it's a little bit less of a really dark fog, but we'll tweak it. But yeah, I have that on the outside. Now I had an issue for whatever reason on this map with this dust particles, where I can only render 2 at a time. For whatever reason, I have a test map and I could put as many as I wanted there, and they render just fine. So I'm not sure what was going on. So I have a small hack in my level that I'll show you. When you're walking, there's a certain point. There's 2 triggers every so often. It's a little horde car I added there, but just forget that for now. So once you get to this point, it'll actually turn that fog off over there, and it'll turn another one on over here, and you'll start to see, if you turn around, you can see the fog cuts off, and hopefully players won't turn around, and if you walk back over to it, it'll come back on. But so whenever you're up to it, you won't actually notice it, or you won't see the end of the map. But if you're standing over here and you turn around, you'll be able to notice it. But hopefully players won't really notice it. I'm hoping this, like, the only thing I could figure out, because everything I did, I couldn't get too two of those dust particles at this, or more than two at the same time. So I have one here and I have one here. This one's definitely a lot less intense. Okay, good framing here. So I changed the way these two buses look because that looked dumb. I had this car run into this one, and now it's kind of like flashing because the power's going on into it. I'm still working on getting this synced up correctly because these have different flashing settings or flickering settings than the actual lighting does. So that's why it looks a little weird, but I'll edit that up pretty soon. All the other houses don't have lights on them. They, normally don't. Like if you actually look outside on a normal street, most houses don't have the lights on. So there wasn't really any point to adding lights to all these houses because they're not important. Really, what you want the lighting to do is sort of attract the player into thinking, oh, this is open, or I can go over here. Stuff like that. I'll go to the house in a second, which I built lighting for, but I think I added something. Nope, not over here. Excuse me. There's a where did I add that? There's a backyard where I added lighting to. I think it's this one, yeah. So I added I added a fire to this fire pit here, which looks pretty cool if you're wandering back here. Again, I actually changed up a couple things, even though I wasn't doing the detail past the time. I changed this over here as well. Before I had the big God is Dead texture. I made that smaller, and I added a ladder and some spray cans, so you can see that this person, whoever it was, came over here and wrote this. But then on the other side, I have this other one that says, "My name is Reverend Richard Harden. He's with you until the end." So it's kind of like this mix here where you have this priest or reverend who wrote, he's still with you, or this other guy said, God is dead. And it has this cool little dynamic, like another little story added to the map, which is kind of like on all these houses they have their own little mini story, which I really wanted to tell in my map. And I think that's really cool that I was able to do. I'm liking this before than the big God is dead with nothing. It's like how did the player write that, or whoever wrote that. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do is in each area I want to tell a story on what the player sees, and if there's no real story to it and you just see something like how did this get here, then I didn't really do a good enough job. So like this one right here, it's like this guy got split in half and ended up on two sides. So maybe I can add something here that'll justify this story being told. If there's a big tank back here, you understand that guy will that guy can rip your body in half. So stuff like that. I just want to touch on that a little bit. Again, I worked on these lightings here. And let me show you the other room. I'm going on like a tangent all over the place, and sorry for that, but there's a bunch of stuff I added, so I wanted to kind of go over it all. But back on the important thing, the lighting here. I did this room or this house. I got this light here. This light's off. This light's on. Bathroom light. Now I also want to adjust real quick that in previous build logs I don't think I covered this, but as I'm building this, there's a lot of stuff I don't understand or don't know, and I'm kind of learning on the fly. So when I get to a certain issue I kind of figure that one out, and I haven't been looking into the next issue. So basically when I was building all this stuff out of brushes, because most of the stuff is brush work, and then overlaid with props, because normally, these walls you would definitely use geometry for and brushes, but you wouldn't really detail an entire house out of this stuff. Most of the stuff would be done with models in this day and age. But because this is the way I built this, I converted a lot of stuff over to function detail, which I read, that you're supposed to do that, anything that looks like detail, but I did it a little bit too much, and I didn't realize lighting goes through a wall that's set as a function detail. So if I have an example here, you can see cuts. That's why I have this painting here, try to hide some stuff. Here's an example. That's actually a kind of extreme example, but you can see where the cuts are in the brushwork, and they add these really weird lines to them. Lighting gets caught on them all the time. Like if this wall was a function detail, this light would actually shine on top of this wall here and on the floor. It would act like this wasn't even here. I think it would stop it a little bit, which is really weird because there's some situations where I have it and it seems to stop it a little bit, but there's definitely some weird stuff going on. So I had to go back and fix a lot of brushes that I set. And for the most part, I got it pretty good, but it's something that I didn't really take in consideration when I was, when I first started building this map. I just, went from one stage to the next, and I learned as I went. Oh, that's a glitch there. And it's something that's really important when you're first starting a project, to kind of prototype all aspects of the map making process. Go from, okay, how does lighting work? How does building stuff work? How does rendering work? All this stuff. So that way, you don't run into these issues, and I'm having to go back and fix a lot of stuff. And I know for the second level, I think a lot of those walls in the school or function detail, that's all going to have to be fixed, which is going to take time that could have been avoided, but it's all part of the learning process, I guess. But going back on these lights, I probably rendered this map maybe 100 times. These lights, I was learning them as I went. There's a lot of information online, but there's a lot of information that's just you gain a lot of information just by kind of testing stuff and seeing how it works, because every lighting sort of is differently. That's why these look a little bit different. I think these might be the same, just tweaked a little bit differently. But you just constantly like, okay, let me try with this lighting and this lighting. You combine multiple lights. Lighting in this engine is kind of really complicated because it's a bit old school, and you just have to kind of play by the rules, and it's only going to work one certain way. So there was a lot to learn. There's a lot of stuff I don't know yet. So there's definitely, it's not perfect, but I think for the most part I got it looking pretty good to where players aren't going to really notice it. I think it's good enough to where players aren't going to go say, hey, this doesn't look right. That's really what I'm trying to achieve here. Because the map's not perfect, it doesn't look that great, but as long as it's not completely awful, it's something I'm going to look in my next project. I'm going to look into more. When you start working on something like, okay, we got to work on lighting first with a test map and make sure that I understand the rules of how everything needs to be built beforehand. So I'm sure I'm going to run into more issues later down the line. So, but I just want to cover that. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Here's another issue. This is weird because these are actual displacements that are overlaid on top of each other. Sort of. There's this one that's connected, and then there's this one that's also connected to these seams, and I don't know why this looks like this. I'm gonna have to hide this. Like, I'm gonna have to put something over here, maybe like an overlay will work, or static meshes to sort of hide the fact that this looks like this. And I think it's like that for the other area too. Let's walk down to Brian's house. I think I covered all that I need to say here about the lighting. Again, street lights took me a while to get how I liked. I render those a lot, but I'm actually liking how these look. I'm liking how the map looks so far. So I should go through here. Got another fire pit. These fire pits look really good. These are just a Valve instance. Like, you can load up an instance, which is basically like a prefab from another map file. I got a couple lights here. I got them spread out, so maybe, I don't know. I just have them in certain areas. Like, I don't have the lights everywhere. Like I was saying, you don't need them everywhere, but certain situations I think they look really good in. I'll probably add a light to this car. I haven't done this yet, but I still need to put a gameplay implementation here. I'm actually going to have a horde invasion. You know how you have those panic events in the map. I'm gonna have one right here where if you just walk past this, you won't really incur a horde of zombies. But if you actually get onto this thing and start using it, you'll activate a panic event because the sound of the light machine gun will attract more horde. So it's kind of like a trick to the players. They're like, oh, you think this is actually useful, but then you get the flood of the horde in. So I was thinking about that. So I'll put some lights over there to let the player know they can get on that, or to make sure they do get on that. It attracts their attention over there. I have a light in this van. I don't have anything here. I don't know if I added anything there. I have a light there. Lights there. I might remove that light because there's no reason for me to sort of be here, since there's nothing I want the player to look over there. Again, if you notice, the fog should be... See, the fog's not as bad over here. See, this needs to be boosted up a little bit, because you can see the edge on the map, like I was saying earlier. But over here, I think it looks fine. Maybe I should check this out real quick. Yeah, so you see that dark thing. So you won't really notice it because you have all this stuff here, but it definitely blends it in there so you don't see those hard edges, which I want to avoid. Okay, so we're going up to the last house here. Cleaned up. Again, I have these stupid 2 buses here, which I'm gonna add some other stuff here. Like another wreck here, which I gotta also update in the other map too. Close this off. Again, see, this is what I was talking about in the beginning. Excuse me. These wires just go into the walls and they don't look right. And they're also really thick, so I'm gonna add some stuff here so it looks like the wires are going into some kind of cable brick or whatever. So this is the safe house. So you have this bright light. I actually had a sprite here. I took it off because it didn't look that good, but I think I might put that on so that way it really attracts you. See how that has that sprite there? I think I'll add one right there. So it'll draw the player's attention here. They'll see the door. They'll head on inside. I have these lights here. These lights here. This I gotta fix. I haven't been able. It has nothing to do with the origin, because normally there's if your origin of the prop is inside something, it won't get proper lighting, because that's how it calculates how props should receive lighting is based on their origin. But for whatever reason, this is just not receiving lights. And I have a light. I think I put a light right here. It's still not going onto it. So I'm gonna figure out what's going on with that one, because these all light up just fine. It's the same model, but I don't know. Bathroom, Brian's room. I still gotta get a texture for that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, that's the lighting. I think it looks good. It's subtle. Most of it's dark. I mean, it's L4D2, so it's going to be dark, but you can still see while you're walking around without really the lights needed. So definitely add to it. I think I'll be good. I mean, if you're watching this and you see something out of place, let me know. Or if you think I should change something, you can let me know. But yeah, like I was saying, I think I'm going to render this whole thing out I'm going to pack it all up and actually run it on my other computer to make sure that this actually looks correct and not doing something wrong when I do my final render, to make sure everything's solid before I move it on to the next one, because that would suck if I had I had a major error and I had to go fix all 3 lighting settings in each map. But I think that's about it. Oh, I wanted to actually also recap while I'm talking about this other stuff while I'm supposed to be just talking about lighting. Some previous build logs I talked about, I couldn't figure out how to get some mechanics working. I ended up getting most of those figured out. My test map, there was the I think called a function time button, where you can go up to something and hold E, and it'll actually do that bar across the screen that'll let you know it's updating or whatever. So I can actually do that. Have a mechanic where you're opening a door, but it's locked and you have to pick the lock. Specifically, that's going to be done in the school area. I'll talk about more on that when I actually do the school level when I build the lighting, because I'll actually put that mechanic in the game. I'll put that in there, and then I can have a panic event in the stairs that I was talking about. All that cool stuff. This map, again, going over some of the design, it's pretty simple, right? You just go from point A to point B. There's a couple of things to look out for with the car panic event, but other than that, it's pretty simple. So lighting's pretty simple. I think that's really all I needed to talk about. Again, sounds, stuff like that. More things to add, but I'm almost done. I've been rambling on for 20 minutes. I'm sure you guys only watched 5 minutes of this whole thing. So, but we're getting there. So, thanks for watching, guys. If you did stick around, appreciate it. Talk to you guys later.